Seth Rogen is the Green Hornet. Man, he looks more like a dung beetle to me.
Dung beetle.
Something that cracked me up is how, like, in every interview for the last year or so, he's been talking about how he's been in training and losing weight. They're like, "You're a fat guy. How are you gonna be a superhero?" No, I've been losing weight, doing a lot of working out.
Yeah,
and
now you look like the young Kevin Smith.
Yeah, like when you see this movie, you're like, "Well, what working out did you do?"
Exactly. I think the only thing he did was buy a smaller T-shirt size or a smaller button-up shirt because his buttons look like they're about to pop off in 3D right at you every time you see him like all dressed up. And honestly, he looked more like Secret Squirrel than he did the Green Hornet.
You know what happens when you have to lose a bunch of weight real fast? You still got all those rolls of skin. So he has lost a bunch of weight. They're just all bunched up. They had to like take some safety pins and stuff and roll them up under his shirt.
He should have played like Plastic Man instead.
Well, I'm sure he did work out, you know. I'm sure he did about 8 or 10, 12, 25 reps bringing that chicken wing up to his mouth every now and then. Chomp 1, 2, chomp 1, 2.
He was doing shake weight with a drumstick.
Yeah, with a drumstick.
Oddly, this isn't a role that he had to be that great shape. I mean, better than he was, and certainly he is better than he was. The shape he was. The shape he was just round before. Yeah. Now at least
he's somewhat smaller, but not enough to make a difference.
That's what I mean by dung beetle, man. That's what I mean by dung beetle. Like he's kind of still roly poly and I don't know, smell like
pushing poop around.
And it's just hilarious that a bunch of out of shape guys are talking about Seth Rogen right now.
Hey man, he was
out of shape he really is.
He was the one bragging about how he was in shape.
Yeah, we're not the ones headlining.
Yeah, no, we are very comfortable with our bucket of KFC right now. So
he's giving us hope, guys. Come on.
But hey. Seth Rogen here is playing basically kind of a loser, partying, eating chicken wings type of frat boy.
No.
It's not too weird for him to be slightly overweight still.
No, he is playing Seth Rogen as the Green Hornet.
See, I was going to say, I'm happy to see Seth Rogen stretching himself as an actor, doing something different.
Well, he did actually co-write the script.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously he put a lot of himself into it.
And Leon, I want you to name one other movie where he wore a green mask and a fedora. See? It's a little something different. There you go.
Oh, see, I thought there actually was one. I was waiting for the answer. It's like, really? There's another one?
You know what? There's got to be a bunch of videos of him getting high, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if there was him wearing a green mask.
Yeah.
If he was getting high, though, at least it would have added some dimension to his character, because I tell you what, man, after watching this movie, it's like, wow, I'm still convinced that the Green Hornet is still the most uninteresting superhero that has ever been published anywhere. Yeah.
You know, he started out as a radio show. It's one of those things where it was like kind of around the same time as the Lone Ranger. In fact, they even made them related.
No, he's the great nephew of the Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Cyrus is right. He started out in the 30s, and there was a radio show as a long-running comic book series in the 1940s. Of course, we have the 60s TV show that we even had Bruce Lee in as Kato. And who was the guy that played the Green Hornet in that show?
It doesn't
Who
even
cares?
matter.
I think his name was Who Gives a Shit.
Yeah, almost any other day you asked me, I could have told you.
In China, the show was called, and I am not kidding, it was called The Kato Show.
Yeah.
It was that
Really?
television. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they were like, fuck that Green Hornet. This is
Well,
Bruce Lee.
I mean, like when it started out on the radio, Kato, he was just the chauffeur. He really was. He wasn't even like his butler. He was just the chauffeur, the guy who drove him from place to place. And he was Filipino. They bring it to TV, make it Bruce Lee, where he's kicking ass. Of course, it's going to be called the Kato.
Oh, by the way, it was Van Williams who played.
Yeah, Van Williams.
Which nobody even knows who that is. So you're like, okay. We all know Bruce Lee is. It was the Kato Show.
It was.
Well, you know what? This movie is the Kato movie as well.
It really is. I mean, it's like watching Kato, and you're like, wow, this is a cool character played by Jay Chow. You're like, I like this guy. This is kind of neat what he can do. He's totally badass. They introduced sort of a variant on the Matrix style of fighting, but that really works.
Something different.
Yeah,
I mean, it's similar but different. Like
it's a little different.
That's one thing about having Michel Gondry direct is like, okay, every so often he could pull some really cool visual trick out of his ass. Yeah. And the fighting was one, because you've seen so many styles of fighting, the hyper stylistic fighting. It's like, well, who can do something new? And he found a way to do something not incredibly original, but still something fun to watch.
New enough that it wasn't boring. Like, goddamn, we've seen this a billion times before. As well, also about this character I liked is that he's not. I was so afraid they were going to make him just totally stoic versus Seth Rogen's comedy character. But the thing is, he's much more human and believable and likable than Seth Rogen's character is.
Well, they make both these guys when they meet each other. I mean, they have this bond where, they've all had to deal with the Green Hornet's shithead dad,
right?
Who's like a complete asshole. Who
Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah, Tom Wilkinson. Yeah.
Which I was like, well, they keep saying he's an asshole. I'm like, look, if I had to fuck up for a son like this, I might be a little asshole-ish to him myself.
So even is that what the story is? So because I'll be honest, I don't know anything about the Green Hornet. I never even watched the show.
So the story, which is actually not all that different from the original versions of it, really. I mean, it's
concept.
It's changed along the way, bits and pieces here. But the idea is that Tom Wilkinson plays this huge newspaper publisher. He's got a lot of integrity. He's very well respected in his town, therefore completely fictional.
Yeah.
And his son is just
the guy lives in a goddamn mansion.
Yeah. Nobody working on a newspaper lives in a mansion.
No one at the Statesman over here.
He's living in a mansion. Back in the days of William Randolph Hearst.
Well, it was created in the 1930s, so just saying. Back then, sure.
The one thing they couldn't update.
But Seth Rogen plays his son, Britt Reed, who's just a totally party guy, mainly because his dad is pretty much a dick. Like when he's a kid at one point, he gets in a fight in school because he was helping some other kid from bullies, and his dad grabs his superhero doll away from him, rips his head off, and tells him he's a loser. What's his line? He's like, "You're still a loser if you don't win," or something like that.
Right. I tried to help. Yeah. Well, trying's not good enough.
Yeah, he's pretty much Billy Madison at the beginning of this movie.
Well, he's
hanging out.
So right.
Yeah. He grows up as nothing but a worthless party guy, and then one day, out of nowhere, while pulling up in his stretch Humvee, he comes to the press everywhere in front of his house because his dad has died from a bee sting. And if you believe that premise, and so he's like, okay, suddenly he's got to be all emo, he's like, I never really liked my dad, but I can't deal with these conflicted feelings. And they're building revealing a statue of the guy at his funeral. You're like, wow, this is awkward.
For his asshole dad?
Yeah, for his, well, everybody likes his dad except for
the son.
I'm about to say, because his dad sounds like sort of a more dickish type Yoda, like, do or do not. There is no try, you fucking loser, you.
No, he's
more of a J. Jonah Jameson, I suppose.
He's a workworkaholic, is what he is, and he never had time for his family, essentially.
Just like a real working class father. Yeah.
Honestly, it's once again a case where I'm like, look, the father's not wrong. It's just, he's got to yell at his son. His son's not being a man. It's just, guy's trying to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, fuck him for working. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
You always come back to that attitude. What is that with you?
Sorry. It's one of my hot buttons.
He's got a dad thing going on.
Yeah.
But the great friendship of the two between Seth Rogen and Kato, Jay Chow, starts when after his dad dies, he wakes up for his customary morning cup of cappuccino and it tastes like shit. And it turns out that Kato, who along with the entire rest of the house staff he fired after his dad died, was the one who was making this amazing coffee for him. So he gets the guy back to make him more coffee.
And discovers that Kato's not only can he make a perfect cappuccino, but he's a genius when it comes to working on cars, and he's a kung fu master.
Oh, and I'm about to say, he can also kick your ass too, right?
Yeah, kung fu master.
And he can draw. Yeah.
Oh, he's an artist.
Yeah, he's an art. He's like a super guy. Yeah. He's totally like he can
do everything but speak good English.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
God damn, Seth Rogen should have married this guy.
There are points that you wonder if this is what this film is really about.
It's a big bromance movie. It starts out with a couple of guys just kind of like fucking around who put on superhero costumes and go out and kick ass and go like, man, this is so awesome. Let's just do this every night. And it's really just that flimsy. And then they just kind of like, all right, let's try to get serious about it, but not really.
Well, its twist is that they figure, okay, so the superheroes, they always go, I'm a superhero! And immediately the villains are like, fine, we'll just kill everyone else or grab an innocent person and put a gun to their head, and then you're fucked. So they're like, what if we pretend to be villains and that we're just fucking with the bad guys' businesses? That way they won't know how to use that strategy against us. So that was always the theme of the original character. Here, it just feels kind of douchey. Really.
Well, it's because they started, nothing in this movie, once they set the premise, they don't really work any of it. I mean, they say this is what we're going to do, but they don't work out the mechanics of it. They just kind of randomly do crazy stuff. Some of it's funny, some of it's not. As a matter of fact, it starts out really good with a great opening with James Franco as a gangster, and Christoph Waltz, villain from
Glorious Bastards.
Coming in and them having a face off. And the writing in it is really funny. Mm-hmm. James Franco is so great at delivering his lines.
He eats up the scenery.
He does. It's hysterical. I mean, it's like one of the best openings you could hope to have for your movie. Mm-hmm. So it really sets the bar pretty high, and it goes along pretty funny for a while.
About 20, 30 minutes.
About 20, 30 minutes, of just great stuff. And then it just starts to lose its way.
Well, the biggest problem is it becomes a very cliched, like, superhero movie that you'd see actually in the 90s. Not a lot of new things going on. They're not really raising the bar on anything. And plus, it's really hard to root for a hero who's supposed to be like the main star, where he acts like a 12-year-old kid throughout the whole thing, and he's not very likable at all.
And he's never likable.
He's never. No.
I mean, when it eventually, as of course it has to, gets to that turning point where he goes, "Oh, it's time to get serious." It's so completely unconvincing, and you're like, how would he even have the skills to do these things that suddenly he can do? I mean, like, not only suddenly he becomes a top-notch investigative reporter, like, just because he decides he wants to be, but he suddenly knows how to fight really well too, with no training of any kind.
See, that's what I always want to know about the Green Hornet, because I think that's why I never want to watch it, because I always saw it as the white dude who got dressed up in a superhero costume and let the Asian guy do all the work for him while he just sat back and like, you got it, man, don't worry about it. Meanwhile, the Asian dude just got like, can you do something? Can you help me?
And that's what this is.
Yeah.
That's what this movie is.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, even by the time they way late in the movie even confront that, it feels tired to you because I've been watching it for an hour. Do that. I know you aren't telling anything new. And it's the fact that Seth Rogen, as a Green Hornet, he's a man child. He's a fuck up. And he doesn't grow. And even if he starts out that way, you want to see him eventually come into his own to learn something. You want a superhero who has some skills, and he doesn't. He's got the costume. He's got the best sidekick in the world.
He comes to the game with only the money to finance the operation, really, and the insistence that it happen. I mean, he is the superhero geek kid who wants to be a superhero, except he's way too incompetent to do it, and even luck isn't really on.
That sounds like that would just get tired to me, man, because it seems like even Kato at the point be like, man, I'm getting my fucking ass kicked every day. Can you at least fire a gun or something?
You never get a moment where you think, okay, these guys are good friends. You just see kind of Kato having to put up with fucking Seth Rogen's bullshit throughout this whole movie. There's not a point where you think, man, these guys should be hanging out, being a team.
We'll need a car.
Hells yes, we'll need a car.
With some weapons. And armor.
Cool ribs. Spinning rims.
I can do that.
Kato, I want you to take my hand. I want you to come with me on this adventure.
I'll go with you, but I don't want to touch you.
Okay, you don't have to take my hand, but will you come with me on this adventure?
It's kind of, I'm not going to, it's not racist. It's just, it's upsetting watching the stuff that Seth Rogen's character, Britt Reed, does to Kato, to Jay Chow, the way he treats him. After a while, you're like, look, man, fuck that guy. You are a superhero.
Yeah.
You don't need his money. Trust me, you can get a job anywhere doing anything you want with your crazy, insane. The guy makes a fleet of Green Hornet, like James Bond tricked automobiles in a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Black Beauty.
Yeah. Trust me, he'll be fine.
The villain, who I thought was completely wasted, honestly. The guy who
Christoph Waltz.
Who's really funny in premise and when he starts, but then it's like that one joke they have where he's like insecure about being scary, and then they run it into the ground.
They run it into the goddamn ground, and that's the unfortunate part, because watching that guy in Inglourious Basterds, he was so fantastic in that film. You think, wow, this guy has so much potential to do so much more if this goddamn script gave him something to do. Like, actually wrote him some great lines to be a great villain.
Or made him actually scary, because he's not scary.
Well, that's the whole punchline.
Just like his fear.
That's the whole punchline of it.
I tell you who was scary. Edward Furlong shows up as a meth dealer
for 10
seconds.
seconds.
10 seconds.
Who looks like he's actually
like,
on meth.
Edward Furlong from the Terminator?
Yes.
Yeah.
He
The
did
Terminator
so bad.
2?
Yeah.
And someone else who was completely just not needed in this film was Cameron Diaz.
Yeah,
You talk
she
about
was only
a
there-
completely forgettable character. No, she had no reason to be there,
she was only there-
besides the love, to be the love interest that becomes that's
somebody
between
for- a
Kato
girl
and
for the two of them.
Well, it had
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
a reason for them to have a split, and,
Right.
and even though there's plenty of good reasons for Kato to be pissed off at him, they have to bring a woman so your stupider audience can go, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought she had some funny moments. I just thought she was wasted. It seemed like she was really trying, and something that just like, sweetheart, this ain't your comeback.
Well,
I mean, you're doing a great job. I can't fault you for it, but this ain't going to be your
I mean,
shot.
they could have had anybody in that goddamn
They
role.
could have.
They could have had a dog in that role. I mean, it wouldn't
Well,
have mattered.
it felt like a Agent manipulation thing because she's what is she? She's about 7 years older than her love interest in here, and he looks much younger than he is.
Sure.
And she looks starting to look older than she is.
Well, I mean, she's 36 and she's looking every bit.
She's
36.
38.
No, she's.
Oh, is she really 38?
Yeah.
Oh, she said she was 36 in the movie.
Yeah.
That bitch lied. Could the problem be like, all right, you have Michel Gondry who's doing this. He's done one of my favorite movies. I know probably one of your favorite movies too. I know Cyrus, the Spotless Sunshine, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, whatever it is. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies.
John Malkovich is my favorite.
That's not Michelle.
That's not
No,
him.
it's not. Oh, I get all those artists confused.
I know. Just be quiet. You don't know no art films unless it's got a fighting dragon.
Same right.
I know. The co-host, unless it's got a dragon with some titties in it, you don't know what
That's
you don't know
what
the
the movie
movie is.
needed, guys.
The sad thing about this is there are moments that you really see Michel Gondry and what he had to give in. I mean, give to it. I mean, there's visual stuff in here that is truly really neat. Like I said, there are high points in this film that are so high, and some of them are the stuff that he does visually.
Well, I was going to ask you, could it possibly be that in his attempt to do something different, which is I'm sure is the reason why they got him in on this, is because he tried to make it too humorous?
No. I don't think it was him that tried to make it too humorous.
It's
It's the script. I mean, it's Seth Rogen and his writing partner Evan Goldberg. They write all their movies, and it has such a feel of Pineapple Express. Like this is their thing. This is what they do, and at times, especially in the beginning, it works. It's just that there comes a point where it starts to get old. Like Seth Rogen. Like there's so much in the movie I still continue to like, but Seth Rogen, he himself, I just got tired of after a while.
Yeah.
It was too much Seth Rogen.
It was just diminishing returns from that joke, that one-note joke that, hey, he's an obnoxious man-child who means to do well, but he's such a douchebag, who cares?
And you're waiting for him to redeem himself, and it just, when you think it's coming, it really doesn't. But as far as, the one problem I really did have with this film, the one that really upset me was, it's Michel Gondry, who's, what was it?
It's a genius. Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
The movie he did, The Science of Sleep, which is one of my favorites that he did. I really thought that this movie could have been directed just by anybody. It could have been directed by Judd Apatow. You would have never have known. Honestly, the only scenes in here that looked like they had some kind of just interesting bit were the fight scenes, but that was it. And those were kind of spread out, not enough to keep me interested in this movie. Because honestly, I was like, wow, Michel Gondry, this wasted honestly, I thought the movie was shot in 3D. Apparently, it's not. It's
not because it looked like it was.
It's just no. I read it was converted. It was just
really
converted.
Because if that's a conversion, that's a good conversion.
It was a good conversion.
Yeah, but the thing is that he really didn't push the limits to what I think that guy can do with 3D. I thought it was kind of lazy on his part the way he directed this film.
I didn't see that many opportunities to do much more.
Yeah, I thought the 3D felt like it just jumping on the bandwagon, but I actually liked what Michel Gondry did add to the film. I thought that, like I said, I thought the fight scenes were kind of neat. I thought that the car chases, of which there are many, were really well handled and exciting to watch.
Yeah.
I thought every time there's action, pretty much, this film is really firing, generally speaking, except towards the very end, where you're so confused over some of the changes that have suddenly happened.
And it could be a script that just was going through so many changes too.
It was.
Because there was supposed to be like Stephen Chow was supposed to direct at one time, but there were so many other versions with this. George
Stephen
Clooney.
Chow wanted to do a whole thing where Kato put a microchip in the back of Seth Rogen's head so he could control him with a little joystick when he got into fights.
Next, where he turns into Looney Tunes. Yeah,
and they were supposed to have like George Clooney and Jason Lee playing this at one time, and
But I don't know. The thing is, I expect much more from Michel Gondry than another goddamn scene where two guys are in a car singing songs to each other.
Yeah.
I was like, really? You're gonna? Kick-Ass already did that. You're gonna retread on that once again?
Once again, that's not Michel Gondry though. That's the script.
Yeah.
So,
but he doesn't have. He's in charge. He's the director.
Man, let's face it. Seth
He
Rogen
doesn't
is
have to
the
shoot
star.
that.
Yeah,
he's a bigger name. He's financing it. He wrote it. Seth Rogen was in.
Well, you know what? Which is why I think this is a movie that Michel Gondry did. I think this is more of a business decision. I'm sure they're like, "Hey, shoot this film, and then we'll give you like a 3-picture deal where you can shoot whatever you want after."
Hopefully,
this.
that's a deal because I would like to see anything you want to do by Michel Gondry.
Yeah, but unfortunately, this is not a Michel Gondry film.
Don't go to this. Yeah. If you're a Michel Gondry fan, going, I hardly wait to see this. This should be cool to see what he does with superheroes. Because, like I said, I think he did a perfectly competent job as a director.
It's competent.
As good as he could have possibly done, and even at points with a certain amount of nice flair. But the script is what it is, which is all over the goddamn place.
It is. Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, man, we've been really ragging on this film. Yeah. But I walked out of it feeling much more positive than negative. Like I said, like that first 30 minutes I thought was just awesome.
Yeah, we were laughing hysterically.
Yeah. And then it loses its way, it slows down. But it never got to the point where I wrote it off. Like every time I thought it's coming to that point where I was going to stop paying attention to it, it would do something cool or even funny. Yeah. I mean, there would be those moments. So I stayed with it the whole time, you know, and then it ends, and like toward the end, it gets silly to the point where it's like, look, either you're going to completely jump off or you're going to ride with it and just have fun with it. And I was somewhere in the middle. I mean, ultimately, I guess I give this something like a low matinee because I really did enjoy the first part of it.
I was going to say, I think I may have even enjoyed it a little bit more than you, and I know that hasn't come across because we've been criticizing it. Yeah. Honestly, there's so much stuff in here that hit points like the stuff we've been talking about that was so low that I was just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Well, how can you not see that just doesn't work? But then 5 minutes later, there'd be something that worked so well that I was just holding my stomach laughing. And generally what works the best is the comedy. A lot of the comedy in here, and like I said, a lot of the dialogue, the way it's written, the way Seth Rogen delivers it is really funny. But sure enough, they'll turn right around again and smack you with something so stupid like 2 seconds later that you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's so back and forth.
It's so back and forth. I'm going to give it a matinee because I did walk out of it probably enjoying it more than I didn't, but even so, that's a strongly cautioned matinee.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, as much as I've been ragging on it, I agree with you guys. I floated out there with a big smile on my face because it was a fun movie. Even I was like, you know what, that was a really good 90s superhero film. It really was. I mean, even though it was definitely cookie cutter. I mean, yeah, the comedy was great. I mean, when it was great, but yeah, the only problem is it's very uneven. And from a director like Michel Gondry, you expect more. You're expecting more. Yeah, it's a lot better than the disaster I really thought I was going to walk into.
That's exactly what it was. It's like, okay, for Michel Gondry, I expected more, but from everything all the trailers I'd seen in this movie and what I'd heard going into it, it was much better than I thought it was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, seriously, you thought, Coles, you were right. I mean, we sitting up here talking about Seth Rogen. We wouldn't be able to do shit if we were trying to be superheroes.
We wouldn't try.
No, but what we could do is that we could use our collective powers and get some money together and hire our own Asian guy to kick ass for us.
Maybe we could get hired.
Maybe we can get hired, dress high up in a costume and get him out there. Yeah.
We just push him out there and watch him get beat up.
Yeah, shit. Asian people, if you know karate, you got a business right there. Just hire yourself out to want to be fat ass superheroes.
Well, you guys are gonna have to hire him for me because right now he's working at my co-host condom factory right now. Making sure those things work.
Hire some little Chinese kids to kick ass for you. It doesn't matter as long as they're Asian. Who cares? You know, it'd be better if you hire little Asian kids to do it because all you have to do is like pay them like 5 cents an hour, right, to kick ass for you.
Yeah, you get a whole team of them. You know,